I am 73 years old, and I'm about to tell you something that most people don't want to hear, something that might make you uncomfortable, something that might challenge everything you think you understand about age, success, and how life is supposed to unfold. Everything you've been told about getting older is backwards. Not slightly wrong, not misleading in small ways, but fundamentally broken. And the most painful part is that the people who were supposed to prepare you for this, your parents, your teachers, your mentors, your culture, either lied to you because they didn't know any better or stayed silent because the truth scared them too much to say it out loud. I believed the same lies for most of my life. For more than 50 years, I played the same game you're probably playing right now. I chased the same markers. I followed the same blueprint. I thought if I did everything right, if I worked hard enough, if I delayed gratification long enough, life would eventually open up and reward me with fulfillment. I thought I understood how things worked. I had a career people respected, a home that impressed visitors, a schedule so full it made me feel important, and a sense that I was moving forward even when I was exhausted. Then, at 52 years old, everything stopped. Not gradually, not gently. It stopped violently. My heart failed in the middle of an ordinary day. One moment I was talking about numbers that don't matter, and the next I was waking up under hospital lights with wires in my arms and fear in my wife's eyes. The doctors called it a cardiac event. That's the polite term for realizing without warning that your life can end in the middle of a sentence. They told me I was lucky. At the time, that word felt absurd. Lucky didn't feel like the right word for lying in a hospital bed, confronting the fact that I could have died without finishing anything I thought I was building. But they were right, just not in the way they meant. That moment saved me, not because it extended my life, but because it finally forced me to look at it honestly. Lying there with nothing to distract me, nothing to chase, nothing to fix, I understood something terrifying. I had been asleep for decades. I wasn't living deliberately. I was following momentum. I was checking boxes, fulfilling expectations, meeting deadlines that someone else decided were important. I had confused movement with meaning. And the question that haunted me wasn't whether I would survive, but what my life actually stood for if I didn't. If my heart had stopped that day, what would I have left behind? A well-organized house, a bank account, a list of accomplishments that would dissolve within a few years? The truth is brutal when you let it be. Most of what we work for disappears almost immediately after we're gone. And that leads to the biggest lie you're probably telling yourself right now. You think you have time. You tell yourself you'll do the important things later. You believe there's a future version of you who will finally slow down, finally prioritize joy, finally live the life you imagine. I see this everywhere. People in their 20s convinced they can postpone everything meaningful. People in their 30s telling themselves it's just a busy season. People in their 40s promising that once things stabilize, they'll finally breathe. When the money improves, when the promotion arrives, when the kids are older, when retirement comes, then life will begin. I am here to tell you the truth that no one wants to accept. That day never comes. The finish line keeps moving. The goalpost shifts the moment you reach it. I spent 30 years climbing a ladder with absolute determination, only to realize when I reached the top that it was leaning against the wrong wall. And here's the part no one prepares you for. You don't get to climb back down and start over. Time doesn't reset, it only moves in one direction. Success, as most people define it, is one of the most dangerous traps ever created. I say this as someone who achieved it. I reached the positions I wanted. I earned the recognition. I checked the boxes, and every achievement gave me the same result. A brief rush followed by emptiness. The satisfaction never lasted. 48 hours, maybe less, and then the hunger returned. So I set a new goal, a bigger one, a harder one. I told myself the next milestone would be different. It never was. I watched friends do the same thing. One of them died at 68. Brilliant man, built a business from nothing. Worked constantly. Missed birthdays, skipped vacations, promised his family he'd slow down next year. Next year arrived as a stroke. At his funeral, his son said something I will never forget. He said his father was admired by many people, but known by very few. That sentence should terrify you, because when you reach the end, your regrets won't come from the mistakes you made. They will come from the experiences you postponed and never returned to. I don't lie awake thinking about deals that failed. I lie awake thinking about the places I never went, the conversations I avoided, the risks I didn't take because I was afraid of disruption. I think about the love I didn't express because I assumed there would be time later. The people you care about feel permanent when you're young. They aren't. Your parents are aging even if you don't notice. Your relationships are fragile even when they feel stable. One day, without negotiation, time will close those doors. My father died suddenly when I was 45. We had unresolved distance between us, conversations we kept postponing. I told myself I'd deal with it when life slowed down. Life never slowed down. He was gone in hours. And what remains isn't guilt about big things. It's regret over small moments, calls I didn't make, dinners I skipped, ordinary chances I wasted. After my heart attack, I changed my life, not dramatically at first, but deliberately. I stepped back. I started saying no to obligations that drained me and yes to experiences that mattered. In the last 21 years, I've learned more about living than I did in the first 52. And the truth is embarrassingly simple. What matters is time with people you love, work that feels meaningful to you instead of impressive to others, experiences that deepen you rather than possessions that clutter you, memories you can return to, and presence in the moments that will one day define your life. I know how easy it is to dismiss this advice. I would have said it sounded unrealistic, idealistic, detached from responsibility, but responsibility without intention becomes a prison. You don't need to abandon your life. You need to stop sacrificing what matters most for things that don't last. Ask yourself a question most people avoid. If your life ended tomorrow, would you be content with how you spent it? Not proud in theory, not respected on paper. Actually content. If the answer is no, what exactly are you waiting for? What future promise is worth gambling your one life on? I wake up every morning now aware that I am borrowing time. We all are. The difference is that most people don't feel it until it's almost gone. I see younger generations repeating the same patterns, stressed, anxious, chasing validation, numbing themselves with distraction. They think their circumstances are unique. They aren't. That's why I'm saying this now, because maybe someone will listen early enough to choose differently. Every day you are closer to the end. That isn't pessimism, it's reality. The people you love are closer too. So decide what matters while you still can. Call the people you miss. Take the trip you keep postponing. Say what needs to be said. Live like time is precious, because it is. If I could speak to my younger self, I would tell him to stop trying to impress people who won't remember him. Stop trading health for status. Stop waiting for permission to enjoy life. I would tell him to start now, not later, not when things are perfect, not when circumstances align. They never will. Life is messy. It always has been. And if you wait for it to settle down, you'll wait until it's over. I don't know how much time I have left. None of us do. But I know this. The years after I stopped waiting were the best years of my life. Not because they were easy, but because they were honest. Because I finally lived on purpose. You still have that choice. Make it now, and before you tell yourself that this message doesn't apply to you, that you're different, that your situation is more complicated, let me stop you right there. Every generation believes its struggle is unique. Every person thinks their circumstances justify waiting. I thought the same thing. I told myself I was being responsible, that I was doing what needed to be done, that someday I'd be grateful for the sacrifices I was making, but responsibility without awareness slowly turns into self-betrayal. You wake up one day and realize you've been loyal to everything except your own life. The truth is, most people don't consciously choose the lives they end up living. They inherit them. They absorb expectations, routines, obligations, and definitions of success without ever questioning where they came from or whether they make sense. They confuse being busy with being important. They confuse stability with fulfillment. And they confuse endurance with purpose. I spent decades believing that if I just kept pushing, clarity would eventually arrive. It didn't. What arrived instead was exhaustion, resentment, and a quiet sense that something essential was slipping away while I was distracted. Nobody warns you that time doesn't feel fast while it's happening. It feels normal. Days don't announce themselves as meaningful or wasted, and they just pass. That's what makes it dangerous. You don't notice the cost until the bill comes due. You think you'll remember the years clearly, but they blur together. What stands out at the end aren't the accomplishments you chased, but the moments you avoided, the conversations you postponed, the risks you talked yourself out of, the version of yourself you never allowed to exist. You don't drift into regret overnight. You drift into it gradually, politely, one reasonable excuse at a time. I've met countless people in their 60s and 70s who thought they were doing everything right, only to realize too late that they were living someone else's definition of a good life. And the saddest part isn't that they failed. It's that they never gave themselves permission to ask what they actually wanted. You don't need a crisis to change course. I needed one, but you don't. You don't need your body to fail to wake up. You don't need loss to teach you what matters. You just need honesty, brutal honesty, about how you spend your days, about who gets your energy, about what you're really working toward. Ask yourself who benefits most from how you live right now. If the answer isn't you and the people you love, something is wrong. This doesn't mean abandoning responsibility. It means redefining it. You are responsible not just for paying bills or meeting expectations, but for stewarding the limited time you've been given. You are responsible for deciding what deserves your attention and what doesn't. You are responsible for noticing when your life is shrinking instead of expanding. Most people wait for permission to change. It never comes. No one taps you on the shoulder and tells you it's finally okay to choose yourself. You have to do it quietly, decisively, and without applause. And that's hard because choosing a meaningful life often looks irresponsible to people who are afraid to question their own choices. They may criticize you. They may misunderstand you. Let them. Their opinions won't keep you warm at night when you're old. Their approval won't comfort you when your body slows down and your memories are all you have left. What will comfort you is knowing that you paid attention, that you noticed your life while it was happening, that you didn't sleepwalk through your best years waiting for a future that never arrived. You don't need more time. You need more courage. The courage to say no when something drains you. The courage to say yes when something scares you. The courage to disappoint others instead of disappointing yourself. The courage to live now instead of someday. Because someday is a story we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of change. And stories don't stop time. Time moves whether you're ready or not. One day you'll wake up and realize the waiting is over. My hope is that when that day comes for you, you won't be filled with regret, but with recognition. Recognition that you were awake, that you chose deliberately, that you lived while you could,